Hi, my name is Dr. Hilton Shapiro. I am a GP in Mascot. I have been in Mascot for the past 38 years. I've been in general practice for a little bit more than 40 years. I've been involved with all aspects of general practice in the local area, being involved with initially Southeastern Sydney general practice, the Eastern Sydney Medicare Local, and now with Central and Eastern Sydney PHN. And I'm also the current chair of the GP Crew Doctors Group, which represents the doctors of Southeastern Sydney, eastern suburbs of Sydney. The reason I wanted to talk about it was I attended a chairs meeting about a month ago at the PHN, and the topic, one of the topics that was discussed was the introduction of ePrescribing. And I was actually horrified to hear that roughly 5% of the GPs of the PHN were using it at that time. It might have been a little bit more, and I was actually very, very surprised. So we spoke about it and thought that really a lot of GPs are missing out in this wonderful electronic device in these current times where we're pressurized with a lot of telephone consults, non-face-to-face consults, and the alternative to e-prescribing is printing a script, getting that script scanned, then either faxed or emailed to a pharmacy, and it's terribly time consuming, and whereas e-prescribing is so easy. It picks up the patient data, you really have recorded the patient's mobile number, right? So when you are ready to send it, it defaults to that. I usually always confirm in case someone's changed, but you've got other options, and this is where another advantage of eScript is. You've got other options. So for example, an elderly patient who maybe is not that IT savvy or has difficulty with visual issues, etc. Usually in my practice, fortunately, I know my patients very well, and I say, don't worry, Mrs. Jones, I know your wonderful daughter Claire will fix it up. So I'm going to send, I've got Claire's details, as long as she's told me that she's your official carer. So I've got Claire's mobile details. It'll go to Claire's phone, so you just tell Claire to expect it. And you've even got another alternative. You can email it to someone, and you can also have an arrangement with the patient's permission to send it via eScript to a pharmacy email. So you've got multiple options. It covers everything. It really is. Within, and I can only talk about best practice. Within best practice, if you're doing a teleconsult, and then the patient needs a repeat script or whatever, prescription of sorts, the first thing one's going to look at is, does that patient in fact have an HI number? Okay. Now, if the patient hasn't been allocated an HI number, health identifier number, again in best practice, it's very easy. You go into the program, into the demographic, you press look up, go straight online, and immediately the number is downloaded. You then save it, and then immediately you go back to your prescription panel and immediately another box pops up called eScripts. And that's absolutely so easy. It's so time saving. But the other part of it, I just want to mention that, so there was a question mark, was once I sent the patient the eScript, which they got on their phones, their mobile phones, through their messages, and I would tell them as I was sending it, I would say, right, I'm pressing eScript now, and in about 10 seconds it's going to be on your phone, and they say, wow, it's here already. The patients couldn't believe how useful it was. And you know what, I had a situation of a patient who had to go to Melbourne on business, who had left his scripts in Sydney, He phoned in a panic from his hotel in Melbourne, and I said, don't worry. And patients will lose scripts as well. So they'll phone you and say, you know what, I got a script from you last week and I've lost it. Okay? And then you just got to remember to cancel the original script. And certainly if you've sent an e-script and that's been mislaid or something, you have to cancel. That's an easy process, very easy. You go into your past prescriptions and you just cancel. Not a problem. Unfortunately, the laboratories, pathology laboratories, and some of the radiology have been a little bit slow in that regard. Happy to say that our big radiology practice in the eastern southern spectrum have come on board, and they anticipated this, and they made a quick change to the program. And what if I want to send a patient, I'm doing a teleconsult, I want to send them for an x-ray, when I physically print, it automatically sends the radiology. They will get a copy of what I've sent, and they will proactively find the patient. One big role is that about 50% of the doctors across the board who are using software, which is most of us, are using Medical Director. And as I understand, and maybe not right, certainly by early December, Medical Director had not got ePrescribing sorted out. So that they were obviously disadvantaged to that point. Fortunately, I moved over to best practice many years ago, and they got onto ePrescribing early in the piece. And I happen to know through a colleague of mine they were beta testing ePrescribing in June and July already. Okay, so that's one reason. The other reason which became apparent, there are two very good reasons. One is that surprisingly a lot of doctors and practices don't regularly update their practice software when there's an update, because they can keep going with the older updates. The third reason, which I can understand, is that in order, before you can actually use your software, you have to have all your certificates correctly installed. And that there are two different certificates, and believe me, I'm relatively IT savvy, but to install those certificates is not an easy task. Okay, so I can understand where there's reluctance. I thought of the right solution. What's the solution? You phone the PHN, you tell the PHN what your problem is, and hey presto, I got the most delightful, can't think of his name offhand, in the digital team, and he logged in remotely and helped. I just hope the passing message is that whoever's watching this makes up their mind to contact the PHN and get some help to get their programs updated. That's probably the only difficult side, but there's a solution. Every problem there's a solution.